Hello, I hope you can hear me. Hello, can someone confirm whether I'm audible?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we're audible.
Okay, thank you. So let's continue. We are going to continue from where we stopped, and what we're going to be doing is inserting. We have been able to create tables. Probably I can just add one more create table, and then after that we can go ahead and insert values into our tables. Let me just hide this. So I'm going to be creating the last create table here, but what I'm going to be making as a difference, apart from adding primary key, I'll add a command called auto increment. Auto increment is whereby, for example, if you are having an ID that follows a certain order, in this case let's say 1 2 3 4 5, you don't have to key in that. It will be auto generated for you. All you will need to key in is, let's say, the names or the age or the country or so on. So you're going to create a table. We're going to create a table using the create command. So I'm just writing create table, and the table name, let's call it persons. That's the table name, persons. Then we can open a column so that we can key in values into our table. The first column will be ID, of course. So we can have, let's say, persons ID. Person underscore ID. This is an integer. We can make it primary key, as we earlier learned how to add primary key for our column. So we have primary key, and then after primary key we add the command auto increment. You can see the keyword auto increment generated here. So I'm just going to click on it. So what will happen, because I've added auto increment in our person's ID, the person's ID is what will be auto incremented. Then I'll add a second column, let's say name. You can have name, and on the name this is a variable character. It's a varchar type of data type. Okay, let me just, I don't know how to call it. Let's say first name, so that it doesn't look like a keyword. A name is a keyword, but to just make the difference, I'm going to just call it first name, first underscore name. It's a variable character. We specify the length, let's say 155. We enclose that, and then you can have the closing for the column section in a semicolon. So we are creating a table called persons, and the persons table we are creating contains ID column, which is a primary key. We have said primary key constraints make sure that the column is unique and not empty, and we're also adding auto increment so that the column ID will be auto generated. Then we have the first name. We can just make this look better using our brush, and then we run it. Let me just increase the size of these points that you can see whether our command is successful. We have been able to successfully create a table called persons. So I'm just going to begin with this table in the insert section, whereby how we insert values. I'll start with this auto increment table, the persons table. So to insert values into a table, to insert values into a table, we are going to use the command insert, and then into what table. You specify the table name. So we have insert command, we have insert into, where are we inserting values? Into a table called persons. So you write the table name, insert into persons, that's the table name. And then what are we inserting? Values. You can see we have two keywords. We have value and values. In most cases we use values, but if you use value, you will still end up getting the specific results that you are inserting. The most commonly used is values, but you're going to insert the values even using the value command. So we have insert into persons table, and what we are inserting is values. So we open a bracket. One thing to note is anytime you're inserting values, for example, we have person's ID and then first name. You must follow this order: person's ID, then first name. In our case, we won't be inserting first name, person's ID, because we made it auto increment. And let's see the output we're going to be getting. So the key value that we are keying in here is just first name. Something you should note: anytime you're entering values which are string type of variable or text, you enclose them with quotes, either double or single quote. Otherwise, a numeric should be just as simple as it is. You don't enclose numerics, you just enclose on a text type of data. In our case, we need first name, so we can go ahead and key in a number of first names. This is why we are going to be keying in just one column. So I'll open the bracket, the single quote. I'm using the single quotes. We can have Paul, close the brackets, and then you can go ahead and enclose. That's the first person. You add a comma, open another bracket, the second person, let's say Sandra. You close the brackets as well, make sure the name is enclosed, add a comma. Let's just have a list. You can just key in values. In this case, we're keying in names alone, and I've said the reason we're keying names alone and avoiding a person's ID is because the person's ID is auto incremented in our case here. So then we have add a comma, and then I add the semicolon. So we are inserting values into the table we earlier created called persons. Of course, you can have a long list of the entries. So let me run that. I'm having an error, column couldn't row one. Okay, this is where we get the message in the message section, and the error is saying column doesn't match value, count at row 1. Okay, it's auto incremented. Let me just should we space? because if we talk about values that are atomically incremented, you shouldn't list them. So let me just check on some. Should we add a comma? Value count of rows. Okay, let me see whether this will run. I'm copying this. I'm just selecting, right click and copy. I'll paste it and see whether if I add the ID, whether I'll have the error. I'll avoid the error. Let's say 1. Yes.
Excuse Lucy.
Yes.
I've tried.
Yeah.
Insert into persons. First brackets first name.
Without the okay, yeah, that's true.
Value.
Yes. You insert into persons, then we have you specify the columns. Yes, that's true. Okay guys, sorry for that. Thank you. Okay, so what's happening is that because we don't want to key in the person's ID, which is the column that we are keying values into, we specify the columns that we ourselves want to key in. In this case, we open brackets and then you specify the column. In this case, we have first name, first underscore name. Yeah, and of course, if you have a list of columns, you just add a comma and list them. Then you can go ahead and add them into our list here. So we're inserting into persons, yes, and because we don't want to insert the person's ID, we specify the column that we want to insert. In this case, first name. You may be having age, so if you have age, let's say city, what you do is you type insert into persons, first name, comma, age, comma, city, comma, or any other list. Then when you come into keying them here, you make sure you follow the order: first name, comma, the age, comma, and then within the brackets, as we're going to be seeing in a few. So let me run this. Yeah, it have been successful. We have inserted values. So if we run our command, which we earlier said is for viewing our entries, let's say select asterisk for all, select asterisk, we said it starts for all, so you're selecting all from persons. Select all from persons. Yes, so let me run that. So you can see we have both person's ID and first name. The reason we have person's ID is because we see this is an auto-incremented column, and thereby it's generated automatically. That's why we have it. Then we have entered the first name. Yeah, so we are inserting into persons. Okay, let me just make it let's close the persons output using this close. Okay, just below where I have persons 1, let me just close that and make this beautified. Sorry, did I? No, sorry for that. Okay, the beautify have refused to work. I hope my work is visible. Whereby, let me see whether I can zoom. Okay, I'll just hope you can see my a screen well. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen well. We are saying we're inserting values into persons. Make sure you specify the column. This is only for the case where we have auto incrementation. So let's insert values into a different table. For example, I'll go back up where we created our first table called employees. I'll just hit enter here just to give it a space. I'm at our first table. We created a table called employees, and our employees table has employee ID. We have first name, last name, and age. Yeah, so let's insert into this column, into this table called employees. So we have insert into the yes.
How do you, let's say if you didn't leave space between the rows, the line, how do you insert a new line?
Here,
like where you're on line 10, assuming from 8 and 12 there was no space.
Okay, you just put your mouse where you had your semicolon, last semicolon, and hit enter.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we have insert into, we're inserting into employees table. Insert into employees table, then the values. Because we don't have any auto increment into our first column, we'll just list the entries of values accordingly, as far as you follow the order of the columns here. Especially in our case, we have employee ID, first name, last name, and age. So we must start under the values area. We must start, let me just open the brackets. So we're supposed to start with ID. Let's say ID 1. You can have 1, you can have 001, and so on. So I'm having 1. I add a comma. That's employee ID. Then we have first name. So first name, let's say Lucy. Make sure it's in quotes. Add a comma. That's first name. We have last name. I'll just add semicolon. Type our last name. You enclose it in quotes. Add a comma. We have entered ID, first name, last name, and the last thing we key in is age. Yeah, let's say that too. Then I'll close that. To enclose the values for the first person, I must enclose that into brackets. Then I'll add a comma, hit enter. Yeah, I'll add a comma, then hit enter. Or you can just leave the space, sorry, not enter, the space bar to give a space, so that you're able to differentiate between the first and second person. I'll open another bracket just after the first person, and now I'm going to key in values for the second person. Bearing in mind, we created a constraint, or rather a rule, into our table that we can't have ID being empty or being a duplicate. So if I try to create a table, if I try to create a table whereby the second person ID is 1, I'm supposed to get an error. I'll get an error, definitely. I'll get an error. Okay, let's do that. I have another one. Now I'll key in details for the second person, just in case you can't hear me well. Make sure you notify me so that I won't continue while I check on my internet. So I'm having the second person ID is 1. I'll be using your names. So I'll open the brackets. We have the quotes. We have first name, add a comma, last name, add a comma, and age. Let's see. Yeah, and then I close that. Key in now details for the second person, for the third person. Before I go to the third person, let's see what happens to my query now here, having that my ID is a primary key and I've keyed 2 ID numbers, whereby I'm having a duplicate. I run that and I get an error, and the error is saying duplicate entry 1 for key employee, which is primary. So you must have a unique ID. As far as you created a table with a rule, you must follow that rule, and our rule is that our employee ID should be unique and not empty. So let's just key in a number of entries, make sure the ID is unique. Of course, the first name is not empty, so I'll add a comma, go to the third person, ID number 3, add a comma, we add quotes, we have Kevin. First name, we have last name, then at the edge, let's say 23, and close that. Let me add just one more person, ID number 4, the first name is, let's say, Sandra. Sorry, make sure it's enclosed, add a comma, second name, add a comma, and age. Yeah, so this is our entries. We have we're inserting values into a table called employees, and simply because we are bearing in mind we created a table with a primary key, we must make sure that our ID are unique. Yeah, they are unique and no duplicate on that note. Yeah, another thing to note is that you should follow the order of the columns. You can't start with age, then last name, then first name, then ID. Yeah, you can't follow that order. You must follow the order of the columns. Otherwise, I hope you're able to do so. Let me run our command. I'll execute it. Remember, using the second execute button. It was successful. Yeah, affected records, we have 0 duplicates and 0 warnings. So if I select all from employees, select all using the asterisk.
Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Mine gives me a different error.
Okay, what's the error?
It says you have an error in your SQL syntax. Check the manual that corresponds to your
Okay, in your
MySQL something.
okay, I see it. So where we are having your line of commands for insert, you have an X in front of it, right?
Where I'm having the
for example, using my example here where I'm having insert into employees, are you having an X like?
Yes.
Yes.
No, the X is on. No, there's no X there. The X is below the create table.
Okay,
That's
can you probably are you okay, these are the errors that happen. You can check on this. Are you having where you are missing a comma one? You can be missing a comma somewhere, either in between the entries or after closing the entries, or you can also check on the quotes. Are you having a name that you haven't enclosed in both of the quotes?
They're all in quotes. And that should I edit the semicolon?
Yeah, you should edit with a semicolon, of course.
Oh yeah, it was that.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm selecting all from employees so that I can see the list of entries in my table employees. So select all from employees table, then I close the semicolon and run that. And this is my output result grid. I'm having a list of employee number, their first name, their last name, and their ages accordingly. Yeah. So that's basically, I hope you have realized how I'm closing my output here. But before I close, you can create a table and save it. Yeah, the table here, down here, other than the command for creating, you can save the table here using the save button here. Where we're having export import, we have a save button here. You click on it, it takes you to your computer. You can locate where you want to save your work, and of course the save type here. You can see we have a list of, we have CSV, HTML, JSON, SQL insert, and so on. So you can save this for saving the table here, this table here. The save button is for saving this table here. And you can also close it using employee 2 here. We have a close, an X. You can click on that to close the result grid. On the other hand, let me show you how to save the output, the command line that we have saved, we have created. I hope we have all managed to create the tables and also insert. Probably before we save, we can do some things, some changes, that is, before we save. So maybe I want to I'll start with the alter. We have dealt with alter table earlier on. Yeah, you can make changes to the table. Probably we want to add something. I'll make changes to the next table that follows. So from employees, I've inserted. Now I'm under the section for employee without the S. Make sure you just put your mouse there and hit enter to create a space for writing a command. And on this note, probably we want to add a column into our table. So we have employee ID, first name, last name, city. Probably we want to have a column for age. Yeah, that's where we come to altering the table to add something, to add a column in this case, because we're altering a table. So what I'll do, I'll type the command alter, and what I'm altering or modifying is a table. So alter table. Yeah, just as our previous area, what we did, we are adding something, so we use the command add. Okay, sorry, we didn't specify the table name. Alter table, start with the table name, employee. Yeah, then what we're doing is adding, so we use the command add. And what we want to add is a column, and the column we want to add is age. So add age, and then you make sure you specify the data type. This is an integer. That's all. You can close with the semicolon. So we are making changes to the table called employee, and the changes we are doing is adding a column called age. Make sure you specify the data type. If it's a variable character, you specify it's a variable character, and the length, just the way we do as we create our table. I run that, it's a success. So if I select all from employees, I'll have an additional column. I'll have employee ID, first name, last name, city, and then age. Okay, let me do that. Select all using the asterisk from employee. Yeah, and then I close that and execute it. You can see we have employee ID, first name, last name, city, and now we have a column called age. So we have made changes to our table, and what we have done is add a column. On the other hand, after adding a column, you can also delete it by using the function drop. This is as per our previous command. So you just write alter table, the table name is employee, and this time you're not adding, we are deleting, so we use the command drop. What are we dropping? our column age. Yeah, we are dropping our column age. I'll go ahead and close that and then execute it. So if I run select all from employees, I'm getting a list of columns except for age, because I've deleted it using the drop command. Are we together? Can you hear me?
Yes, we're together. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just close that as well. That's on the drop table section. Yeah, you have been able to see how to make changes to our table. Of course, you can do the rename of our work. For example, if you want to rename our table, I'll just make alter table employee and then rename to give it a name. Yeah, the only difference is that it won't be drop here, but it will be rename to and then a new name. Yeah, okay, let me do that. I'll do alter table again, alter table employee, and then I use the function rename to and then my new name, let's say workers, and then close the brackets. So I run that and it goes as successful. That means there is no longer a table called employee. So if I run select all from employee, I will get an error. I'm getting an error saying table class employee, class is the database, then employee the table does not exist. So unless I run the command select all from workers, the new name now, let me run that, and I've gotten the output because I've renamed the table from employee to workers. Okay, I hope we are together with that. So we have been able to go through a number of alter functions. Yeah, and we have been able to understand how to make changes into our table. Yeah, but probably let me just add something here. I'll use a table with inserted values. Let's use the previous table, employees. Yeah, I'm using the previous table called employees, which we inserted values into it. Yeah, and I want to show you how to update a table. For example, if you want to update Bill's name from second name or age, how would you do that? That's why I've come back to this table. We use the function update. So I'll update. You can see the pop-up keyword for updating. I'll click on it, then the table name employees, and then set. You want to set this is last name. You want to change Bill's last name, so you want to set last name, last underscore name. Use the equal sign because you want it to be equal to. We are updating employee table and you want to set last name to be equal to, remember we are keying a name, so you must enclose it with quotes. So just type a name, get So we want to change Bill's name from Ogega to Gates. Then we specify a condition, and a condition must be a primary key. Here is where we come to use the function where we are changing employee, we are updating employee table, and we want to set last name to be Get. Where are we changing the name? We specify now the Bill's primary key column. That's the ID. We're going to be using ID. So we say where emp ID emp underscore ID is equals to Bill's ID 2. And then you close that. Okay, sorry, this one equals sign, not double quote, is equal to, and then you close you add the semicolon. So this is what we're doing with the update function. We are updating employees table, and we want to change the last name of Bill. So we are saying update employees table, then we want to set last name to be equal to Get, where Bill where employee ID is 2. In that case, we are changing the second name for Bill. Otherwise, if you want to change for another person apart from Bill, you just specify the ID. The reason we use ID is because an ID cannot be unique. In our case, it's a primary key. It is unique. Yeah, so each person's ID is unique. That's why you're using ID. So I run that, and it's a success. So if I select all from employee, I'll get the second name of Bill as the updated name. So let me run that. So I'm having the second name of Bill is Get. Yeah, that's how we update a table. Yeah, last but not least is deleting. Yeah, deleting. If you want to delete someone's details, for example, let's say Lucy, who is an employee here, resigned. So you don't you can't, of course you can keep, you're going to be keeping a table that contain details about employees, but you want to update now the current table, so that you have the employees details of those people who are already working here. So this is how we do so. We use the function delete from. So delete from, where are we deleting this data? We are deleting from employees. Delete from employees. Where are we deleting? Where ID. Remember, we're using ID because it's the only unique column here. So where emp ID, sorry, emp underscore ID is equals to 1. That means you're deleting details for Lucy. I run that. Let me just close this. So let me run that. It was successful. So if I select all from employees, Lucy details should not be there. So I run select all from employees, and the first person we have in here is Bill, with exception for Lucy's details, which we deleted. Anybody having a question? Hello, Bill, can you hear me? Hello, Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So I hope we're
Yes,
all...
I'm getting you clear.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope we're all together to that point. We're not going to add more commands, but just in case you have a question, you can go ahead and ask, or you have an error, you can also ask, and I'll help you in that. Otherwise, that's it for today's class. Yeah. Okay, if no question, have a nice evening. Hello, is anybody trying to ask a question? Can just hear some background noise, but I can't get what they're trying to say. Yes, Paul? Where? Hello? Hello, Sandra. Were you having a question? Huku ni kubaya. Kimona internet inanisumbuanga at the end of the class. Kama inagojanga tu nini ishe. Hivi kidogo tu.
5-6 topics to learn. So just pick your
Probably I wasn't that with that session. Okay. These have been so disturbing. I don't know what is wrong with the internet. Okay. Back to class. Okay, let me just upload this to the Gmail account. Nothing, so let me go back to my